I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up. Only buying car till you get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. I ran up.
Bud, how you doing, sir? How you doing?
Good evening, YouTube. What's going on? We are back.
I've been there with that food poisoning, like you and I were talking about. That's not a pleasant thing. I'll tell you what.
Good. Doing real good. Other than
I've had that too.
What we had to deal with last weekend, which is why we weren't here, had some food poisoning. But other than that, we are doing good. We are doing really good here now. First time ever for me. I mean, I've had the stomach flu, but I've never had food poisoning, and that was terrible. That was awful. That was terrible. So, yeah, hopefully we never have to deal with that again. But unfortunately,
I did.
Well,
I'll tell you what, this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing.
At least,
I don't know if anybody else out there has this problem with Netflix or their cable service or whatever the case would be. So I got all excited. I was talking with your dad. I know you were on too, but everything starts, Paul comes out. I thought it was going to take Paul, his vehicle, like 55 minutes to get to the ring before they could even get to Tyson. I mean, this car, I could have walked faster to the ring than they were moving this vehicle. And so then eventually Tyson comes out, literally gets to the steps to go into the ring, and the cable goes out.
You know, this is the funny thing is so I tried to watch some of it. I caught some of the earlier bouts. Obviously, I caught some of that Barrios Ramos fight. That was crazy. That was good. And ended in a draw. I mean, that's crazy. I think they may end up trying to run that back. Oh, if they do, I might actually watch that. I'm not a huge boxing fan, so I wasn't really into this fight as much as a lot of people were. And obviously, I'm not big on these kind of fights, these promos where this is Jake Paul and everything like that, because I mostly kind of can figure out exactly how it's going to end, which is what it did. It went the 8 rounds, and he got the win, which I'm sure that's, that was how it's scripted, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's some sort of script out there where it's written that that's how it's going to be, so I'm just not big on it. If we're talking about real boxing, actual boxing, other than these paid people to be in the ring and just for entertainment and stuff like that.
Yeah, my service did come back up in round 5. I didn't have sound.
But obviously, it's
round 5. But you're not missing much, unfortunately. But
like
didn't have sound.
Didn't have sound. A lot of people didn't get to see
but that was okay.
what was going on in this fight.
I don't know. But I don't understand. Paul getting $50 million for this. I get Tyson getting 20, but that's a lot of money to throw right. I think the gate at the stadium was $17.8 million they took in for this fight. And obviously, you're throwing out another $60 million for the two fighters. But I don't know where Paul is demanding this kind of money, and they're giving it to him, because the dude's really not a fighter. If he fought anybody that was a real fighter, this dude would go down in a heartbeat. This is what he needs to do if he really wants to be legitimate. I don't think he can. Oh, I take. Yeah, yeah.
It's what I told you before, Mike. It's social media. This is where we're at, right? We're on it ourselves right now. We want the likes. We want to be seen. We want the people to interact with us. It's the same thing with Jake. He doesn't have to be a great boxer. He just needs to entertain people while he's boxing. There's a big difference. He's not a boxer. He just needs to be able to entertain while he's boxing, which is
No,
what he's doing.
and I get
He's
that, but I
getting
get
big
that.
name
It's,
people
it's
to
good
fight with
theater.
him
I get all that.
to
You know,
make
his
it
brother
look
is
like this
involved
is
in
a
wrestling. His
battle or that
brother
it's something
is
big,
actually turned into
when
a
it's
really
really
good wrestler.
all
He really is a
staged, all
good
set up,
boxer.
whatever you want to call it, and it's just for likes, just to be seen
And
out
then,
there,
yeah,
just to
yeah.
get social media going, because that's the era we live in right now. It's social
I
media.
want to say this though,
That's where we're
for all
at.
the other stuff, and unfortunately with the Tyson, Paul outcome and everything, and not being much of a good fight, the women. I mean, that was a
Apparently,
great
Tyson called
fight.
him out too in a fight. He told him he would kill
Oh
him.
goodness.
Yeah, both bouts right before, those were two great bouts of fighters. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
hoping that
Absolutely.
with the
I
Laters
agree. I mean,
they get
you got your money's worth
round,
from the
they get
preliminaries, I
a
guess you could
third
say. If you
fight
weren't a huge
because
fan
that
of
was
what was going
phenomenal.
on out there in the
Unfortunately,
final
some
round,
controversy,
I guess
headbutting,
you
and
could
all
at
those
least say
things,
you got two of the
and then
best
obviously
boxers
her
go at it
corner people getting in the ring
before
and
just trying
challenging
to
the officiating and
go
stuff
on
like that.
play,
But
right?
when you get boxing like that, see, I love boxing. I grew up with Muhammad Ali and all that stuff, and Foreman and everybody. So I love that. You just don't see
Yeah,
that much of it anymore. With the Tyson Fury, I'm not a big Tyson Fury guy. I think if you're going to be a boxer, look like a boxer. Tyson at 58 years old looks 3 times better than the current heavyweight champion, and that's how sad that is. But Tyson looked great. It's too bad he couldn't get out there and do anything. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And see, for me, is the other reason I didn't want to watch it is because that's not Tyson. We're not watching Mike Tyson fight, and a lot of people I think thought differently. You have to understand that this man is 58 years old, going out there and doing this, right? He's not the 27, 25-year-old that was knocking people out. Plus, he was tired. He knew he was tired. He told himself at the end, he said, I can't do this no more. So for him, people, we need to stop thinking about this. And for me, I don't want to see him fight like that. That's like saying, if Alway would have kept trying to come back over and over and over and just didn't look good, and you had to watch him just keep getting worse and worse. Kind of like this thing going on in with the New York Packers, right? Watching Aaron Rodgers think he's still good, and then he's just declining, right? You should have left a long time ago. Don't do that, Tyson. Don't bring everybody back, because there was a lot of people that were sitting here thinking, oh, Tyson's going to knock him out. He's 58,
Yeah, I really
going up against a
thought. See,
27-year-old.
and that's where I fell back on.
Whether or not
Obviously, I didn't
Jake's
think
the best
Tyson
of
would win the fight. I just wanted I wanted it to
whatever he
be
may
at
be,
least,
it's
just not
still
go out there.
27 to 58,
And I don't feel like he
and somebody
embarrassed
that's been
himself,
taking
but
abuse
it was a
already,
struggle. We know
being
that.
in
We
the
watched
sport
it,
of
but
boxing and things
he
like
only
that,
he only
his body
landed
is
the entire
hurt way
fight.
more than
Tyson, he
Jake
only
is, for
landed
sure.
18
So, I mean,
punches.
what did you
Only
expect?
18 punches landed in an 8-round. I mean, you're talking about just over 2 punches a round. Yeah, yeah. But you know why they do that?
I mean, what do you, I mean, I 58, he's 58 years old. That's all I can say. I don't know what else. 58 in a sport of boxing. I mean, this sport. This isn't golf. This is, you know what I mean? This isn't
Yeah, we saw
if
that
you
last
want to
night
say
after the fight because I
basketball. You
texted
can
him and I
even
said,
maybe
he's in
at
great shape, but
58
look
try
at him. He
to be
looks like he needs
basketball. If
oxygen.
you're a
He really
shooter,
did.
right?
And
Just
I'm
get
like,
out there,
this
get
is
the
like,
ball, and just shoot. But boxing requires stamina,
I
requires
think he's in good
power,
shape, bud.
speed,
But they
all
better get
kinds
this
of
man some
different
oxygen. I
things
think he's going to
that
pass
you need
out.
that you cannot
But
do
I
at the
agree,
age of 58 that you were once doing at the age of 20.
I agree with you. I don't want to see him fight again. I know he made the comment at the end that he still thinks he's got some more in him, but
Was he in good shape or did he need action? What the hell?
no, I hope not. And hopefully nobody will take him up on the offer because you got to move past that. But
It's like it's a good thing they ain't here in Colorado. We wouldn't have known. They'd be out here in this air. We're not going to see him. He's done. No. It's not going to happen. I can't see that happen. You could tell just by the way he talked, by the way he looked,
yeah,
feeling like he was almost.
well, it is what it is. I mean,
you could tell he was.
it was like you said, some good undercard matches, so that's what made up for the back end of the night. But overall, I wasn't disappointed, especially with the undercard fights.
It's just like I cannot do this anymore, unfortunately, and all the times unbeatable, unfortunately. Right? That's the worst part, but. Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Well, so like we told you guys, like I said, last week we were going to try to get into a little bit of more NBA stuff for you guys. Obviously, like I said, we had to take some time off last week. We had some food poisoning, unfortunately, with us. But we're going to get into a little bit of basketball. We're also going to get in kind of go list things, talk about,
and real quick, just before we jump into this, I gotta throw a quick shout out to LeBron. For the first time in his 75-year career,
even now,
he's managed 4 straight games of triple doubles. It's been an amazing feat. At the age of 45 or 44 or 50 or whatever he's getting close to now. Whereas Jokic does this about 4 times a week. So shout out to LeBron, great accomplishment. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, let's get into that right here, Mike. Let's get into this. The Lakers are 8-4 this year, right? They are 8-4. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Bronny situation at the beginning of the season. He obviously got into the game, that first game of the season. He played 3 minutes with LeBron. They were checked in together. Like I said, played 3 minutes, and now Bronny's down in the G League now. The Lakers are 8-4 though. They're 5th in the West. So, are the Lakers pushing here? Do they have a great team? Are they on the up? This team looked like they maybe were in a rebuild. They drafted Bronny. It looked like everything was just not on the up and up for them. Started off the season 3-0. Had a little bit of fallback.
Really at this point, Bud, honestly, I'm not sure where they are. I think, we talked before before the season started. We didn't really get into basketball. You and I talked, and I think we both really felt the Lakers were going to be a lottery team. At least I did. I just didn't feel like there's anything there worth. You got a new coach coming in. So you know how that can turn out. And I'm still not convinced here that Reddick's this magician who's managing to manufacture this type of production. You got a center position right now. You got the center position that's playing out of his mind. Obviously, in consideration for MVP right now, the way he's playing. LeBron with the up tempo is actually playing a lot better. And I will go so far as to say he's surprising with what he shows me at his age with the up tempo game. Because that's what they had Westbrook there for last year was to buffer this, come off the bench and set these things up. And here's LeBron having to go out there and do a little bit more. So I will give LeBron credit for that. I don't know. You look at the Mavericks, look at where they're at, and they're struggling bad. Look at Golden State. Did you expect them to be 8-2? I mean, there's a lot going on here. The Nuggets are actually playing well.
No, and of course, I mean, there's a lot. So obviously, looking at the top 5 teams right now in the West, OKC's 11-2, Golden State's 10-2, Houston 9-4, Phoenix 9-4, Lakers 8-4. So we got a kind of a mixture, right? Golden State, like you said, huge, right? I think Steph missed the first game of the season, comes back in, and they don't miss a beat, right? They don't miss without Clay. Obviously, we got the big game recently, Clay, Steph going back, going against each other. Golden State wins on a 3 hit by Steph. Obviously, everybody's talking about the Clay hitting the shimmy. Steph comes back, hits it. Who do you think is doing better with their teams right now, Mike? Because Dallas is 5-7 right now.
Yeah, but you know, and we talk about those things too. But when you have,
I mean, I know a lot of people
regards to the sport, you know, we talked about this with football just this season with teams like Cincinnati, where you got receivers that aren't happy with their contracts, but now slowly things are starting to fall into a groove. At least they're playing, you know, trying to win. So it applies to all sports. So I really believe it was time. You know, if Clay had stayed with State, there was going to be issues because he's just not happy being there. And that's always counterproductive to your success. And we see it like you just said. So Clay leaves. Now you got to go on State playing as well as they've played in the last couple of seasons or so. I really do believe with Dallas, I think it's just a point of having everybody sort of have enough time together to get everything going. I don't believe, I mean, Dallas does have too much talent to just struggle for the rest of the season. Unless there's injuries, the talent itself is enough to get them back at least into maybe not the conference finals, but obviously the semifinals, that type of thing. So I can see them getting to the divisionals, maybe to the conference finals. We'll see what happens, but I think that'll play itself out with Clay once he finds his spot, his pace. I just think it was a good move for both sides. Back to your original question with the Lakers, can they be maybe that team? I got to see more. I got to see more. Everything you see right now is positive. You're getting MVP performance out of the center position. LeBron's doing well. They're getting production from some different areas. But I'm just not sold on Redick. We'll see how it plays out. I'm just not ready to go and anoint them as you know, good enough to reach the conference finals or certainly the finals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I'm not surprised at all by OKC. Obviously, I know Chet just got hurt, too. I haven't heard, obviously, the extent of that injury, but it did not look good to possibly, you know, having him out for a little while. But OKC, great team, obviously back from last year. But Golden State does surprise me at 10-2, Mike. I'm not going to lie. I thought maybe they would lose a little bit of a step there without having Clay, but they don't lose a beat. I mean, and you know, it says a lot, obviously, about Steph. This says a lot about Kerr also as a coach. So, but the big surprise for me is Houston. Houston in the 3 spot right now is huge. I know Jalen Green, Jabari Smith. This team's good. They got great players on this team. They're young. It's nice to see, you know, kind of a mixture here, right? And things going on here. But you know, it is a little bit surprising to see teams like Sacramento down right now. Dallas. Dallas is the big one, right? What is going on here, Mike? Why is Dallas at 5-7? Did you see the play with Dallas last week? I mean, yesterday or the day before, where Doncic gives up the easy dunk under the basket because he's not playing defense. So it's just they're coming down. Is maybe 13 seconds left. Jordan Clarkson's top of the key. Doncic's just standing at the free throw line, where I believe.
But you know, that's his Bagley. That's his MO. That's been his criticism throughout his career. You know, great offensive guy, but on the defensive end, he lags. He doesn't try. You see it. You can pull up any video you want, folks. I mean, there's hundreds of these things where this guy just doesn't want to commit to a defensive effort.
Utah goes and wins the game. So
you can't, you know,
what's going on?
You can reach the finals, I guess, but ultimately, if you're going to continue to perform, you got Kyrie over here. Get upset or go off. So I don't know exactly what the problem is, but Luka doesn't help the situation by just like you said just now, you know, not committing to defensive effort because it goes both ways, superstar or not. And we know this is a league about no defense. But don't be obvious about it. I mean, at least put out some type of effort. I mean, throw a hand up, something. I mean, at least, you know, try to convince somebody of something. But right now, I still think it's wide open. Like I said, the Nuggets are playing a little bit better than I expected. I think Malone's a little. This is the thing with this guy, real quick. And I want to make sure I mention this about Malone. We've talked about this guy, and we've had criticisms about him. You and I have.
Yeah.
I really do believe that this guy. I like the way he calls out ownership with the Nuggets, upper management with the Nuggets, and has literally challenged them for basically, tightening and handcuffing his hands sometimes at trying to get the most out of these guys and the most out of the team itself just to be successful. And we talked about that. They've jettisoned guys, and let them go, walk away. These guys that come off the bench, it could have helped the Nuggets possibly look at a three-peat, definitely a two-peat. And he's talked about that. So I got to give the guy props for this. He's not afraid to call out people that he thinks needs to be if it's affecting the potential success for your team. But right now they're playing pretty well. We know what Joker's doing. Again, MVP, potentially maybe his fourth. We'll see what happens. But, good grief. I mean, help the coach out, help Joker out. I mean, the Nuggets still have a chance to at least maybe do something. Don't know if they'll reach the finals, but it'll be interesting to see what they do as the season progresses. Well,
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is on fire right now. It's ridiculous what he's doing. It's not even close to anybody.
And if you look at guys that have been in the MVP conversation the last few seasons, I mean, here's Embiid. And, we touched briefly on this, you and I did today, talking through text and stuff. Here's this guy,
I was a little worried
misses, the first, what is it, like 7 or 8 games of the season. George is out. These guys can't even combine I mean, it's ridiculous. They're missing 20 of, what did I tell you, 21 of 30 shots in the game last night?
Oh yeah. I mean, and yeah, definitely. I mean,
He's hurt.
well, I mean, getting into the East now, yeah, I mean, that's where we're going to transfer over to. And Philadelphia, they're second to last right now, 2-10. They get Maxey. They have Maxey. They get George. Embiid's supposed to come in. This is supposed to be their big three. Embiid talks about not playing back-to-backs at all anymore. Paul George is out for, a certain amount of games.
George quit a long time ago. George quit a long time ago. He quit when he was with the Clippers. He got his contract. And I told you, we talked about this too. This goes back to I'm not playing for, I don't really care about championships. I don't. This is literally his quote. I don't care about winning championships. So to your point, this is where I struggle to understand Philadelphia's interest or anybody's interest. Why are you investing in a guy who's literally said, I really don't care about winning chips? Then as an owner, then that's it. I'm done. I don't need to even I don't need to contemplate it another second. If you're saying that, then I'll move on. I'll find somebody else. And the Sixers now prove this point right there in front of everybody. Guys can't play, and when they do play, they can't score. It's ridiculous. And like you said, they're at the bottom. With this talent and those prices, those salaries, they're at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just that, but not just, I don't want to just hit on just Philly, and I'm not sitting here saying that they're bad team, because here's another team, 4-9 in Milwaukee, right? Why is Milwaukee 4-9? You're talking about Giannis, Dame. They went out there to get Dame. This isn't, Milwaukee is not, neither one of these two teams are in a rebuild right now, right? There's no reason for a rebuild. They're ready. They went and got George to help with that. That was a big three. Milwaukee went and got Dame last year, and now they're 4-9.
That's what I was going to say. I'll tell you, there's 3 problems Milwaukee has right now. They have a team that's old.
Right? I mean,
4 things.
How are they going to get out of it?
They have a team that's old. They have a guy they brought in that obviously isn't what he used to be in Dom.
They bring Doc in, and this whole franchise.
And they got a coach that should never been. I'll never know if Giannis is going to be there now. How Doc Rivers has built a coaching career off of one season with the Celtics that has 3 Hall of Famers on it is beyond me. But he has. and he's taken it and he's sold it to everybody that he can coach, and he can't. And I don't care what his record is. He's not one of the 10 greatest anything, anytime, anywhere. He's not. And Milwaukee once again proves that he is not a coach. And the last thing, like you just mentioned, what's going to happen is Giannis is going to bail, because I do believe he wants to win. I don't think sometimes he's aggressive enough, on his on-court play, but I think he really wants to win. If he gets a new location with some new scenery, I think you'll see him revitalized and he'll come out ready to go. But I think he's kind of checked out on Milwaukee for the most part, because he knows that franchise is going nowhere. And this is where they're at. And he's gone. I fully believe he's gone at the end of the season. If for some, but by chance they don't work some blockbuster trade during the season. I mean, because Milwaukee's not going anywhere. It's Cleveland and Boston. There'll be a couple other teams that might step up. You got Orlando down there that's playing pretty well. But it looks like, if you stay injury free, Boston and Cleveland look like, I mean.
No, for sure. And exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to bring up. And this is a team that not a lot of people are talking about. We focus a little too much on these teams that we shouldn't. Mike, I brought this up to you before. We sit here and talk about too much other things instead of the people that we should. In the NFL, we focus way more on Mahomes being the MVP, and we're wondering why with the stats that he's put up this year. Same thing with this. Why do we focus more on the teams that aren't? And I'm not saying the Lakers aren't great, because they are one of the top teams in the West right now. But even Philadelphia, right? Why do we worry about them? They're 2-10. Keep doing it. Cleveland, on the other hand, 14-0, right? Boston, 10-3. Boston still looks like they're doing great. Obviously, Tatum, Brown haven't missed a beat, but this Cleveland team all of a sudden just kind of shot up out of nowhere, right? And they played very, very well. My question to you, Mike, is how far do you see this going? Is 14 maybe all that they hit? Do you see them hitting 20? The next few games we have, because I'm going to bring it up to you, they are tomorrow. They play Charlotte at home. Then Tuesday they are at Boston. Wednesday, home with New Orleans. Home again against Toronto, and then back-to-back games with Atlanta, home and away. That's kind of the next 6 games for them. I think Tuesday is going to be pretty exciting, right? Being in Boston, that might give us that, because I think they can. Charlotte's not a terrible team either. Charlotte's good. Charlotte can definitely try to maybe give them a little bit of run for their money.
I'll tell you what. I mean, if I took it to where I would be as a coach, I wouldn't be worried about streaks like that. I'd be worried about just being good as a basketball team and working to get better. And I'm not worried about 20 wins and 33 wins like the Lakers had and all that stuff.
Before losing.
I think the Boston game is a big measuring stick for Cleveland, more so for them than obviously just the Celtics. The Celtics are defending world champions, so it's Cleveland that's got to prove themselves. I think if they win that game, kind of like you talked about, the schedule appears to be favorable. I suppose, depending on what the coach, how he views load management and what he wants to do with his players, if he's all about trying to get 20 wins, then I could see if they beat Boston, that the schedule allows for that. But it wouldn't surprise me if the coach says, I'm not really worried about that. I've got to have my guys healthy as we get through this season. So if we lose a game or two, I really don't care. Let's just focus on what's important, and that's the end of the season. If they beat the Celtics, we'll see what happens. But if they do, I think they could get to 20. Well,
For sure.
okay.
Yeah, I think they could too. We'll see. I mean, I think this is kind of what we're looking at in the East as far as what we're looking at the Eastern Conference Championships are. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be exciting, but still, I think we have talked about it. I'm still on the Boston side. I know, Cleveland, great. Starting off 14-0, that's tremendous and stuff, but I would still take Boston in a 7-game series. I still think Boston is stronger. I like what they have. I like that Tatum and Brown. I mean, you just don't get better than those two. I mean, I know people want to sit here and say there are other talent, but who? I mean,
Well, Let me ask you this, though, because we kind of get an idea, and the Knicks are still out there, so New York fans, it's not, we haven't forgotten about the Knicks. We know that they're still in that playoff picture.
Definitely, don't give me the Luka and Kyrie and Clay and all that stuff no more, because we just talked about them. They're 5-7. You're talking about where Boston's sitting at 10-3.
I think they're better than 6-6.
6-6. That's pretty. The Knicks are one of those teams where I can't figure them out. That's literally why they're 6-6. It's like win loss. They look good and then they don't look good. Getting Cat, I thought, should have really helped them. Obviously, Cat misses the free throws this last game a few days ago or whatever like that. I think he had to go for four times to the line and missed all 4 of them to lose the game. He sat after the game, was shooting free throws after the game, just trying to get, work on that. I like it, but at the same time, it's like you were brought here to make a big move, to make a big change, and you have. I mean, obviously, I know he dropped 42 in that game. Like, don't get me wrong, but Mike, all of a sudden, the league is changing. Like, everybody's putting up points, right? De'Aaron Fox just put up 60. Wemby finally put up 50. Luka's putting up 60. We got, Tatum putting up 60. We got, 50 over here. This is ridiculous with the point score. Where's the defense? Where's the defense? So, guys, we're going to get into our list here, and we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to kind of get into a little bit of everything. Like, we're going to have some fun with this. Because Mike and I can sometimes get into some of our talks here with sports, and we can really get into it where we just have a terrible time and get all mad about it with stuff. So we like to do fun things like these lists and stuff. So obviously, Mike, thinking about
I still to this day, I know he's on the back end of his career, but I really do. I enjoy watching Steph play. Because I think Steph is obviously generational.
Who are some of your top?
And I think everybody else that you look at right now should emulate what this guy's. I'm not saying you go out there and try to drop threes from the seats and do that thing. I mean, Seth, his shots are measured. He knows what he can do, and there's a point to everything and every shot he takes. He's not just out there throwing up threes and hoping they drop. He's very purposeful where he positions himself and what he looks to do with the ball. And he's facilitating these type of things. And so for me, I kind of, he's my focal point. I struggle, and I say that, Bud, because, again, it goes back to what you just mentioned, that I don't know that the league itself they really look to really improve themselves. I just don't see the league. They press you to be like that. Silver doesn't. I mean, they don't. So you look at Steph, and here's a guy who's generational. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He could go down potentially because he was on your list of what turned out to be 12 greatest basketball players in history. And he's earned that position. But you're talking about a guy who, when it's all said and done, could be one of the top 5 greatest basketball players in the history of the game. And I'd have no problem with that.
Yep. Oh, I agree. And so here's my question to you, Mike.
Is that right? Yeah. Did you have one before Katie showed up, or 2?
Right now. Where do you
and they got 2 with KD, right?
This year and wins
so he
wins this championship, right?
Yeah, so it would be 5.
At
5.
5 rings? Or is it 4? Is that 5 for him? He got one before KD, and then they won 2. And then he got one just recently, so he has 4. So he would be 5. He would pass LeBron in rings. Now, if that's the case, he wins this year. Is this really LeBron's era? And how does LeBron even still sit in the GOAT debate then? If Curry wins another one here, this is kind of big. I don't think a lot of people look at this situation, right? If Curry wins with this team now, he lost Clay. He doesn't have KD anymore. It's just him and Draymond. They got great players around him. They got, I love what they did. They got Buddy Hield on there. That's a great player. So
He's my goat. He's my goat.
Where does that put?
He's my goat.
I
mean, how can you deny that? Particularly if you're talking about 5 titles. I mean, and I don't even need the 5th title. I don't. I see what he does, and that's enough for me.
Where do you
but you made a great point that
that's already your number
and
one.
that's really a great point you made about the comparison with him and LeBron, because LeBron,
point guard,
his career has overshadowed Steph. And while Steph is recognized, everything falls back on LeBron and how great he is, and he's this GOAT. And so that hasn't allowed, I don't think, what would the attention to Steph be if LeBron wasn't in the league? How would Steph be viewed? I don't think he'd be viewed as just a great point guard. I think he'd be viewed as one of the greatest basketball players ever. You wouldn't even isolate on the guard part of it. You just say he's one of the greatest basketball players ever.
Okay. Here's for me the hardest, and this is the reason why I wanted to start with point guard, because point guard for me is the hardest to pick, because how do you decipher whether you're going, because you said you have Steph, right? And I'm still back and forth here, but how do you decipher between Steph and Magic? Because between the two, they are two totally different players, right? When you look at them, there's nothing alike. You're talking about
playing
Steph
center too, yeah.
Outside shooter, handles like crazy. And I'm not saying Magic didn't have handles. Nothing but what Steph has, though. I mean, it's not even close. The shooting's not even close. But yeah, Magic was doing things that nobody was doing. He was running the lake show. I mean, he's 6'9". He's 6'9", pushing the ball, triple doubles. I mean, everybody's sitting there saying, "Oh, LeBron's doing this for triple doubles." There was Magic first at 6'9", passing the ball, getting triple doubles, scoring. So they're two totally different players. So for me, looking at this, I have to go with, for me, as my point guard, who is going to control the game better and who's going to make sure that if he can't get going, he can get the ball and divvy it out to everybody else. That's why I would probably take Magic. I have to take Magic because I'm big on the assist. I'm big on doing everything as a point guard. Whereas, and I'm not saying Steph can't. I'm not saying Steph doesn't have the ability to. But when you think of Steph Curry, you think of scoring. You think of shooting. You think of him just, And he's not a bad defender. He's good. He can, But the thing for me,
what's interesting is like I mentioned, because we have two lists here. Folks. We have our GOAT and we have our favorite. Just to watch. Who's my favorite?
Not only am I not getting
point guard
and assists from my point guard, I'm also going to get rebounds to add to. So if my point guard is going to give me double digits in rebounds, that's going to do a lot for me. Like, you know what I mean, too? Yeah. No. Oh well, yeah. See, and so I guess if I'm looking listing and I'm just gonna kind of list Mike and you can too, because we kind of named our GOAT already, but I wanted to give kind of a top 5 list. But obviously for me it'd be Magic and Curry.
Well, that's him and.
I really like Stockton. Stockton was great. Stockton was a tremendous.
Him and Malone developed the greatest give and go I've ever seen in basketball. And he knew it was coming, obviously, and you never could stop it.
Him and Malone,
you just couldn't stop it.
They don't run into
and Stockton he's a very underrated basketball player. I know he's in the Hall of Fame.
They get 60 wins every single year and go to the finals just to lose to Jordan. You know what I mean?
For an entire season.
Yeah. 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 And I love and a couple of, I just want to Oscar Robertson, another one. he needs to be mentioned and things like this. Not a lot of people know about it, but he's another triple-double. He's another guy that can do everything for you guys. You know what I mean? So, just some other guys. There are guys like Gary Payton is another one. If you're worried about defense, Jason Kidd, another one that triple-doubles, things like that. But for me, a guy I like to watch, and for me, I absolutely used to love to watch. I was a big Penny Hardaway fan. I used to be big with Penny. I loved watching Penny Hardaway at the point guard position. Him and Chauncey.
I'll tell you about a guy.
Point guards that I really enjoyed.
I'll tell you about a guy that
to Denver
across the league. Probably not.
Obviously
probably flew under the radar even during his best days with the Nuggets.
Just like we talked about the
and your dad and I used to see him talk about it too. Scott Weaver. This guy could. What he brought to the Nuggets as a facilitator and he had talent. He wasn't all world. He wasn't up for the All-Star vote every year. But what he brought to the Nuggets was invaluable, and he was fun to watch, and he was creative, and he knew how to get people into position and stuff like that. And I love Fat Lever, but this is a guy that just kind of flew under the radar, and you never really heard much about him, and that's fine. I loved watching, oh crap, I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think. No, it don't come to me. I just can't think right now. But Tim Hardaway was another guy that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the Nuggets?
Yeah, so it's not always about.
Run TMC. Run TMC, right? It was Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin back in the Golden State days. Oh, I remember some of you remember those. That was a good team. That was a great Golden State team back then. See, that was the thing. There were so many great teams back in the day. See, now it's all these teams that kind of build. But when you think about some of these teams, there were so many great teams that were assembled with really good players on it, right? And that's one team right there, that Golden State, where you would think having those three that they would have, a whole bunch of championships. No, it didn't happen.
Yeah, like we were talking about, folks, we have two lists that we're doing, Bo was talking about, but
because the Lakers,
it's almost like,
right?
that's why I thought it was interesting because your top GOAT point guard was Magic, but he's my top guy point guard. He was the most enjoyable to watch because it was everything you were talking about. He was creative. He could do it all. Even the center position in the finals against the Sixers, he had to step up and take the center position because Kareem was sick. So that speaks to his versatility, and you don't see that anymore, like you're talking about. And it's in part because nobody challenges the players to improve. The players struggle to challenge themselves to improve. We've talked about this ad nauseum that money's corrupted everything, all sports just about except hockey, and eventually it'll do that to hockey too. But the athletes today, they're not challenged to improve their game like they should, and that's too bad because they don't realize what they could really truly bring to the game if they would just allow themselves to be challenged a little bit more. But it's just this comfort thing. That's why you got to go back. That's why we go back and we watch the old videos, folks, because, Anthony and I we talk about this every once in a while. You go back. Sometimes you don't even focus on the games that are actually being played now. We go back and watch, the YouTube videos of what was, because it was a purer game. It was a better game, and that's just too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on. So we got through our point guards here. We talked about some good ones here. Let's move into the power forwards position, though, and let's get into some really good power forwards. But it seems like the power forward position nowadays is kind of evolved or maybe changed, right? Because when you used to think about power forward, Mike, back in the day, right, in the days, you're talking about a guy that was one of two things. He was either the enforcer and he would block shots and get rebounds, or he was inside that block, back it down, could score on you. somebody like a Tim Duncan, right? That was somebody like that as a power forward. I think Tim Duncan obviously is the greatest power forward to play this game. But then you have somebody that kind of pushed the game a little bit out further, like the Kevin Garnett. Now, he's not a three-point shooter, but he can get that fadeaway shot. He's a little bit more handles, can work with it, but can still be in the block, right? Things like that. I think guys like Duncan and Garnett are your top two great power forwards. Then you got guys, though, that would like to go in a little bit more that were into, and I want to get into like a Kevin McHale, right? Kevin McHale is crazy good. Yeah. Fundamentals and everything inside. Charles Barkley said he was one of the hardest guys to ever guard because of how good he was down there on the block. But then you kind of look, and then when it changes, what I mean by that is now you look at like even LeBron, KD, they've taken the power forward position because they could stretch the floor now. Guys like Dirk, right? Dirk was never a block guy. You never seen Dirk post up and work inside and get the block. Every once in a while, maybe if he had to, and somebody smaller on him, he would. But no,
it stops and ends with this guy. And you mentioned some great names, and I love just about every guy you mentioned. To at least some degree. Right now, Tim Duncan is stops with Tim Duncan. He starts and stops with Tim Duncan.
Your top
versatile guy would be the absolute ultimate team ball player, which I think is lost in the mix a lot of times when they talk about the greatest system. It's rare you hear them throw in there, but he was a great team guy. It's a lot of it's just about what he did, but you never talk about what he brought to the team, and brought the team, along with him, so to speak. Tim was that guy, and his abilities were just ridiculous. I mean, I watched this guy play at Wake Forest, so I saw it from college through the pros, and just as humble as you could get. But you knew what you were getting every night with Tim. You didn't have to question it. There's no nights off. And what these guys we're talking about that are GOATs, and even our favorite players for the most part, I don't think there's anybody that either one of us will list on either list that was taking nights off, back when they played. They just didn't do that. You're there to play. You're there to try to win. And Tim Duncan was that guy. Very, very, very quiet guy. Quiet leader, as they say. And that's what you want.
Yeah. No, he just went out there and did his job. That's what it was. Tim Duncan literally treated basketball like it was his job. He went to work. He did his job. He punched in when he was on the clock. He did what he needed to do on the clock, and when he was off, he wasn't out there getting crazy, partying, getting in trouble on social media, all this and that. He just did what he needed to do. He did his job. Like he's a tremendous basketball player, Hall of Famer, surefire. I like that he's on the coaching staff now, too. I think he's very, very smart. He deserves to be on the coaching staff. I love Tim Duncan. I love watching him.
Yeah, and really, it's good you mentioned David, because I love David. I loved watching him in Navy when he was at the academy.
They deserved every title that they put together, and then Tim was a huge part in that.
He was phenomenal. But again, when you finally brought Tim into the mix, I think it allowed both of them to flourish, because Tim was learning from David, and I think David actually learned from Tim too. They balanced each other out.
We don't know.
They took pressure off of each other and allowed them to maximize their games, and obviously that contributed to the team as a whole. And what do you get with that? You get championships. And it doesn't hurt that you have a Hall of Fame coach to build around with all that. But their talent was undeniable. But Tim, for me, is one of my probably top 5 all-time favorite basketball players. I agree with you.
Well, what I will say about this, though, too, is you will never see, with the way the NBA is now for sure, you will never see a center and a power forward win a championship together. It won't happen. It just won't happen, because that's just not how the game is nowadays. I mean, unless you're getting, and unless you're talking about, like, you're getting a KD mixed in with, maybe like a Chet or something like that, But at the same time, that's not the same power forward that we've seen here, right? That's not the power forward we're talking about. That the way that Tim played the power forward position, the way that David played the center position. These guys don't play it that same way, right? So it's a little different. I mean, and even going back, and I know a lot of people don't know, but I loved you watching some of the way some of these power forwards played back in the day. I'm talking about like the Alvin Hayes, right? Those guys, they played the game. These guys would come, Jerry Lucas too, right? These guys were putting up 20 and 20 games. 20 and 20 every single night. It wasn't just everybody a triple-double here, or hey, this guy put up a 40.
Yeah, but they also took pride in going out and producing. It was important to them. Like you said, but that was their job.
That was a bad night for them.
To go out and give it your best, incorporate your teammates into it as best you could. I'm not saying they all did it, but a lot of them did, because you were working to play as a team. The team concept was really much more prevalent, obviously, than it is now. So you knew you had to rely on each other. As great as Jordan was, and you and I both know that there's a lot of things he could do, but ultimately, especially once Phil came on board, even Phil convinced Mike to see that, you are this great basketball player, but you do need these other 4 guys that are on your court with you at any given time to do this. And you have to. So there had to be team basketball, and we don't see that now. You don't. It just don't. It's just awful.
Yeah. Nope, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So right now, so far, we have you having in your top 5 all-time lineup, Steph as your point guard and Tim as your power forward. And I have Magic as my point guard and Tim as my power forward. So just a little bit off on the point guards, but let's move and switch over, because I want to get into the center spot now, because there's a lot of changes from when I did my list.
I'm already going to tell you, I'm right there with you if you're going where I think you're going, because I'm doing the same thing.
Everybody knows the Joker, who has really made a name for
himself. He is mine.
Now before I even did that list that I did before, he didn't have a ship, Mike.
I get it, bud. I get the points. I get.
For me,
I get it.
Man. He needs to be in the top 5, but he's not my GOAT. I think now. I think he over Kareem. And I'm not sitting here because here's the thing for me is, if I'm just making just a center's list, somebody's saying just put me a list together, and if you can argue it, great. I can make an argument.
Let me say this real quick, but
if we're doing this,
I'm going to say this real quick. So here's the deal. Now, Kareem was my 2, okay, and also Kareem. Now, and this is two. These are the 2 guys, folks, on both of my lists. And I love watching Joker play. I love watching Kareem play. So it's 1-2, 1-2. The reason, and Anthony and I've had these talks about Joker for the last 5 years. His dad's been there throwing in his thoughts too. But Anthony and I've had these conversations about Joker. We put aside everybody else. The game's obviously different now. It's a little bit more open, and Anthony will be the first to tell you that, because Anthony's played basketball. I mean, he's played, so he can speak. He can speak from what happens on the court. But what I see from Jokic is absolutely just insane. I mean, his court vision, he can run the court. His defense is the absolute best. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. There's nobody like him for sure. There's no center that is doing what he can do. But at the same time, Mike, and like you said, I play the game, And Mike, what was I when I played? I wasn't a scorer. I wasn't a assistant. I was a defender. Now, I focus more on defense. And I'm sorry, but I don't – I mean, Jokic he doesn't wow you on defense. He doesn't get steals. He doesn't block. Kareem blocks. Kareem scores. Kareem rebounds. Now, he doesn't have the assist. I get it. They both are going to have flaws regardless.
I can see that.
Yes, Jokic can shoot the outside shot, but it's not – it's not by far tremendously great.
Yeah,
he shoots maybe, 31 to 32%.
His arms,
his
wingspan was set.
Inside, though, I think Jokic would have a rough time.
No, and I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's
a lot of his scoring would have to come on the outside and things like that. The length of Kareem. I mean, Kareem was, 7'2"? 7'1", something like that. I mean, his length was incredible. That's why the skyhook was so deadly. I mean, how was Jokic going to guard the skyhook? You know what I mean? So for me, I have to go Kareem, and then not only that, but I mean, look at how long Kareem held the points before LeBron just broke it. He scored a lot, and that's saying in an era where he played with Oscar, and he also had to play with the Laker team full of Magic and Worthy and Scott and all these other great players, too, that could score the rock, and he was the leading point scorer. So I got to go with Kareem still.
But here's the thing,
Jokic.
too.
Jokic is too. We're there too.
Here's the thing too, and this is not, folks, to take away from Kareem. I love Kareem.
Right?
I mean, you're talking about one of my all-time favorite basketball players in life.
And I get it. What Jokic is doing is incredible.
And I will say this: it's a little bit tough for me to sort of put Kareem to. And Bud makes great comments. I mean, you can literally go either way.
I'm going defense over.
And it's not that this isn't Kareem's fault. This is just how the team developed with the Lakers. So during Kareem's time there, and especially when Magic came on board and as this team progressed, and granted, Kareem's on the back end, here's a guy on the back end of his career benefiting from this mega talented team with Worthy on one side, and I mean, the Cooper over here and all these guys. I mean, it's insanely ridiculous what he's playing with. But not to take away from Kareem, because the numbers are still there. The skyhook is still there. I mean, and then what he did with Milwaukee, one of the few guys who won chips with two different teams, and Kareem carried the Bucks to that title. He had a little bit of help, obviously, but he carried that Buck team to the title. I watch what Joker does in his core vision and what he's asked to do, and when guys aren't playing right. And this is my biggest thing with this, with what he has to put up with, is what Joker doesn't have around him almost nightly. It's almost without fail. It's guaranteed he's not going to have production from at least three guys on that 5 guys on the court at any given time. 3 guys are going to fail to produce like they should be. He has to pick up the slack. And it's tough for me to see this happen. And like Bud and I talked about, it's sad because Joker may not have the career he could have, in part because he's not interested in a good way, because he's got his priorities. But he may walk away from the game before he'll never play as long as Kareem did, because he just doesn't. That's not where his priorities are. But if the way the game is played today, if he played for as many years as Kareem did, his numbers would be almost unfathomable. It would be just absolutely stratospheric what this guy would wind up with. And even now, if he plays another 3 seasons, I'm not sure some of his numbers are ever going to be touched. It's crazy. But you can't argue it. I mean, you can't argue what Anthony's talking about with Kareem. You can't argue it. And those are fair points, bud.
Yeah, no, I get you, and
That's fair, bud.
I
agree.
Fair. No, and I agree for sure. I agree, but Jokic is too for me. He needs to win a little bit more for me. But it's not to say, because Jokic does everything. He does everything well, and he's clutch too. That's the other thing. This guy's shown that he's hit the clutch shots too when he needs to. So I'm with you, Mike. I just need a little bit more. I need a little bit more championships compared to what.
Well, I mean, I one wild time.
I need a little bit more. So For me, I'm sticking with that. And I'm sorry, but we forgot
To a
to,
degree.
Mike,
I
who
mean,
are your
I
favorite
really liked Karl Malone. I thought,
point
he
I don't
was
think we, I mean, power
he
forward. I
was
don't think we did our,
phenomenal.
because we did our, we talked about
I really did
WNBA,
like him a
GOAT,
lot, and I thought what he did again,
who
when
are
we were talking
guys
about with
that were power
Stockton,
forward that
was,
you were like
I
your
won't say it was
favorite
revolutionary, but it was
when
something
you
that
watched?
it was a play that the two that had between them that was
Tim
almost
Mann,
indefensible.
also
You knew it was
Tim.
coming, but you couldn't stop it. You know, again,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can't really defer to what we see today because I don't always agree with what I see today. I think it's become diluted, So I fall back on the guys from the past, and it's almost like with Steph, and you make great points, obviously with
Yeah.
Magic, but with Tim, I think Tim is a guy that you could look at regardless of your position as on basketball court. If you looked at what he did with his position and how he refined it, and what he brought to it and showed you how to play your position, he was masterful. He's the guy you would put on a video and say to anybody coming in the league, if you want to play, learn and conduct yourself like Tim Duncan did, and you may be successful. I think that's the kind of impact that person has.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, see, for me for me, like my favorites, and I'm trying to stay away from like the main
Well,
guys, the top of the list power forward. These are favorite guys that I watched that I used to just love, but they weren't always maybe the big name guys, or they weren't the guys that people talk about the most. But you knew that they would bust you when they could play. And Kenyon Martin's one of those guys as far as power forward. I love Kenyon Martin. I'm a huge Kenyon Martin fan, especially when he got to Denver. Oh my God, that was great. I loved Kenyon when he was here in Denver. He did everything for us. The guy could score, he could rebound, he could block, he could defend. I mean, he was taking on Kobe a few times in the Western Conference Finals and doing a pretty good job against him. He's had to guard some tough teams. He had a great team when he was with the Nets with Richard Jefferson and kids, but I love Kenyon Martin. The other guy is Josh Smith. Back there, we used to play at Atlanta. These two guys were ballers. They could do it all. And on both ends of the court, they had spurts and they had time frames where they were unstoppable, and they could show that they belonged in the league. But those are guys that nowadays you hear the stories more now because they're social media, right? These guys are all on their own podcasts. They talk about more. You didn't hear about some of these players. Here's another, like Jeff Cheek has one, and they talk more and stuff like that.
What I like?
That you hear about other players, and you don't hear these stories until now.
You know what I like?
You never heard. So these are players.
He really, it wasn't so much about his skill set. It was just Charles Oakley.
Were really good.
Absolutely no.
Just didn't
And
get
this is the guy. There was nothing about his game that was fanciful, folks. He really wasn't there for points. He was there to beat your ass and take you down. That was his whole purpose. But I loved watching it because there was no misconception here. He was put out there to enforce things, and that's what the Knicks used him for. Yeah. And it was beautiful. I didn't like the Knicks. I couldn't stand the Knicks, but I thought every team should have somebody like that.
Yeah.
Almost like when the Bulls didn't have it back in the day when Jordan was trying to get through the Pistons and that type of thing, and he needed this kind of guys. But just I don't know.
Yeah.
The game's so much different now, and it's just not what it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And just a real quick shout out to one of my favorite centers to watch all time.
We got our GOAT in that we talked about.
Was Hakeem.
Jokic.
Quite possibly one of the most versatile centers I've ever seen in my entire life. He had it all, folks. He could shoot outside, he could go inside. He had the spin move. To me, he was the complete package. I'm really surprised he didn't win more championships than he did.
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up with our favorite centers. So go ahead with yours.
Yeah,
I love Hakeem. I love Hakeem. Yeah. I'm with you. Hakeem would be mine. I love Hakeem Olajuwon. He was so much fun to watch. He really was, because he was doing things in a time frame that centers were not doing this.
He schooled veterans.
But he was working like he was a guard down on the block.
And I actually, you know, and I did. I liked.
To watch this guy. He was making Hall of Fame centers look like they were rookies.
I
Shaq, Robinson, these guys, they didn't know what to do with him. No clue what to do with him. Absolutely. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Hakeem's definitely one of. And I'm not gonna lie. I like DeMarcus Cousins. I'm a DeMarcus Cousins fan. I liked him when he was in Sacramento. I did like DeMarcus.
Do you realize, you know, just real quick about and thinking about the center position, and actually transition to college just for a quick second. I'm sure it's been talked about. I don't know if you've ever talked about it, even away from camera, even with your dad. Because I wasn't a big UCLA guy back in the day, you know, because that kind of dominance gets old after a while. Kind of like you're talking about with Kansas City and those type of things. You get tired of it after a while. But what UCLA did with the Bruins, you know, but to have Kareem at the center position, and then you literally Lou Alcindor, thanks, but you have Lou Alcindor, and then you literally transition to Bill Walton. Can you imagine that? That's what you go from this to this.
Yeah. Lou Alcindor. It was Lou Alcindor. Bill Walton, yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, I think
it starts to get credit.
Franchises, there's just some organizations where it just happens. I mean, we've talked about it before. How did the Packers, though, get Starr, Rodgers, and Favre in their whole entire career, but yet Starr has more titles than Favre and Rodgers anyways, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like some franchises, it just works that way sometimes. I mean, I don't know how it works. I mean, and some franchises, they only get the one, right? Chicago got Jordan, and since Jordan's been gone, how many more titles have they won? So, I mean, they had their chance with D. Rose at one point, but that didn't work out, unfortunately. But so moving on here, though, we're going to go now into the small forward position. Mike, these last two are very interesting because obviously there's a lot of talks because the small forwards got LeBron. You have explained very much how you feel about LeBron. Obviously, LeBron is the other person in the GOAT debate.
Again, it's a guy that I absolutely love, and he's become more prominent in my thought process over the last few years, and I think just because of some of the videos I've seen. And that stems from listening to guys that actually played against him and they played with him. And you really understand with Larry Bird that this is the thing I love about Bird. And you learn these stories after the fact, right? That here's a guy who would literally take you out on the court, and especially if you were a rookie, or it didn't even matter what you were, a rookie, a veteran, he just was up there telling you what he was going to do to you. And everything he said and did was backed up. I mean, he literally would go out and do this. You know, telling you where he's going to stop on the court, telling you what the shot's going to be, blah, 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 and just goes on and on, not just from one defender, but from just about everybody to a team. I didn't appreciate Larry Bird as much when I actually watched him play as I do now. Amazingly. I thought he was a great ball player. I thought he was the first ballot Hall of Famer. I knew he was this incredible shooter, passer, all these things. It's only after I watched him step away from the game, you know, and you look back at the impact he had, along with Magic when they came into the league, and it's well documented. We know that. But you see the impact that they had on the league as a whole. You know, Magic took it to the ultimate level, but it was Magic and Bird who brought the NBA into real prominence. The NBA was dead. It was dead. Nobody cared. And then here these two guys come along and they developed a rivalry in college, even though they really didn't play. They met in the national championship game. But ironically, they're on opposite coasts, on legendary, franchises.
Yeah.
And they took both franchises to new heights. They competed against each other in some of the greatest finals that people can recall. I mean, that's the kind of impact you can't top. And that's why Bird is first and foremost on my list. Is a favorite to go back and watch. I wish I had appreciated him more, like I do now. Loved watching him, but I really appreciate what he brought to the game now. He's my GOAT, and he's my favorite. Exactly. With the
Yeah.
Pacers. I'm not taking away from LeBron.
I mean, I love Larry Bird. Larry Bird's amazing. I mean, like you said, he changed that. I mean, he did a lot of great things in Boston for them. Obviously, he didn't do too well coaching.
I'm not
In
gonna agree
Indiana, I
with
thought he did pretty well. He did really, really good for them. So I'm with you, Mike.
Yeah.
I love Larry Bird. I love what he does. Tremendous ball player, Hall of Famer, everything. But as far as where we stand, as far as GOAT status in small forward, I have to put LeBron there. I have to put him there. He has to do that. I mean, he's 40,000 points. I mean, he's a triple double. I mean,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of this stuff. It is longevity, but still, it's part of it. It's part of his career. It's part of his legacy to it. But at the same time, just what he's done in that position, what he's done for the game to change it here and there. It's got to be LeBron as far as the GOAT. Now, he's not my favorite. He's not even close to being my favorite at all. So I don't want to go too deep in it. He's going to be my GOAT for this. But I like people I loved to watch at that small forward. So I was a huge Grant Hill fan. I mean, I love Grant Hill. Grant Hill was LeBron before LeBron was here. So a lot of people that you don't know that. You want to talk about somebody and sit here, like I said, Magic started in the 80s being a 6'9" guy that could shoot, that could, pass, run the floor. Grant Hill took that to another level in the 90s. Grant Hill was that guy. I mean, he had a hard crossover, hard first step. He was supposed to take over the league when Jordan left that first time. It was supposed to go. He was supposed to be in the league. He was supposed to run the league, but injuries, hurt him, things like that. But Grant Hill was a tremendous basketball player. But him and Melo, God, man.
Yeah.
Melo brought life to Colorado.
Oh, I do.
He brought basketball back to Denver. We were in such a terrible rut here in Colorado, so bad with our team. I mean, luckily he came in right. We made all the changes. We got the new jerseys. They switched out with that old, navy blue and brown. Whatever. Remember those jerseys that they used to be? Oh man, they were terrible. And they got those brand new baby blue ones in. I mean, it was great. And he changed the game, right, for Denver Nuggets and even for basketball, right? I mean, he's another person that everybody talks about where he was unguardable. You could not stop Melo. I mean, he was unstoppable, and it was amazing to get to see. I got to see him here. I got to watch a lot of his games here. I got to see him win for us. I mean, I was hoping he would be able to get to a finals with us. Obviously, I know a lot of people hate on him, and they're still not happy with the whole situation, him leaving, but it's still a business, guys. I mean, everybody leaves. I mean, LeBron left.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take away from LeBron. I mean, ultimately, I don't have to like him as a person, but I'll recognize what he can bring to the court, what he has done.
Right? So it happens.
He did bring Cleveland their first basketball, championship.
And in the end, it didn't.
And I felt that was the one title.
I will always be a Melo fan.
That was really more about. Yeah, he had Kyrie there to help, obviously, but I thought that was the one title that LeBron really sort of. He was the orchestrator of the team, and what I mean, he was the one responsible for helping do that. The other teams, obviously, we've talked about that. There was a lot of help going on there, but his personal ability. His personal accomplishments, you have to acknowledge, and he's still playing. So he may play till he says he's getting close, but he may play till he's 46 or 47. I don't know, but yeah, but yeah, I mean, but I won't take away from what the guy's accomplished.
He is. Yeah, and he's doing really well. So, we'll see. He's only got maybe next year and maybe a year after that. But yeah, if not, it's probably next year, and that's pretty much it. But who knows? But moving on. So your starting lineup now consists of Steph Curry, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, and Nikola Jokic. And mine is Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, and LeBron James is my starting lineup so far. So we're going to now get into what we are now, the shooting guard. I don't think we really need to get into the guys as to who our GOAT is, right? I mean, both Mike and I, MJ is there. I think two behind it has to be Kobe, right? Now, Mike, my next question is, so those are our top two. Where do you go after that?
Well, shoot. Well, I can tell you, who am I want to say about? Who am I thinking about? No, that wouldn't be the guy I was thinking about. I'm drawing a blank. Yeah.
Well, so for me, I'm sitting here thinking Dwayne Wade probably has to be the next best shooting guard after those two, right? I mean, because you got to start thinking if you're really thinking, you can.
Yeah.
You got to start thinking maybe.
I don't pause on that because I don't consider him to be that. But I'm just looking at the grand scope of things like that.
I mean, who else is better than Dwayne Wade when you think about shooting guards?
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, shoot.
I mean, even Clay, right?
I would struggle with James. I really would.
What about Clay? Where does Clay live?
Because he failed so much in the playoffs. You might have to go. With. Yeah.
James
when you
Harden.
start talking,
where does Harden? But I'm saying but when you think about it, but who else? But that's what I'm saying. When you look at the shooting guard position, I don't think a lot of people realize just what that shooting guard position. There was a lot of really, really good, but not tremendously great shooting guards. But there was a lot of really good because there was a lot of guys you're talking about like in the 90s where you got Reggie, you got Steve Smith, you have Kevin Johnson, you have Allen Houston. So there's a lot of really good shooting guards.
One of the guys I was thinking about was Reggie.
Superstar, great talent type.
Again, there's a lot of bravado with Reggie, but Reggie would back it up.
And I think Wade should be kind of now, maybe DeMar DeRozan.
I don't know, but it might be hard. You could go 1-2, and then you're looking 3 like you're talking about. I guess Wade could be at least obviously top 5. Maybe to 3. Yeah. Because I loved Reggie. I loved it. Yeah. Yeah, there's no more card.
Because you could go back, like I said, you're thinking about you can go into like those old topics, and you're talking like a Sam Jones.
But again, he's well, that's tough to say too.
Really good, but then
because Wade had the same thing. I mean,
Well, because Jerry was more of a point guard. Jerry West wasn't really a shooter.
I will say this. Wade was able to contribute to 2, championship teams. Obviously, one with Shaq, and then obviously one with LeBron, and whatnot. But so he's got 2 chips with essentially 2 different, talents around him.
But what about
Reggie never got that.
trying to think.
Yeah, and I love Clyde, but he had to have. It wasn't until he hit Houston with Hakeem that he was able to get the job done. Even though with everything he had in Portland, I love Clyde, to tell you the truth though, but he wasn't Dwayne Wade. And I'm not even sure if he was Reggie Miller, to tell you the truth.
Clyde Drexler's another one, possibly too.
Clay, he might have been better. Yeah, I guess I would go. Yeah, I probably would, but I'd go Jordan. Obviously, Jordan 1, Kobe 2, Wade 3.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's not a lot of, when you think about shooting guards, there just isn't that many that just are kind of outstanding when you think about it.
I want to say he was considered small forward. Maybe he wasn't. Yeah, and I love Vince.
Well,
maybe the best dunker I've ever seen.
They weren't shooting. Well, was Carter?
You might have to.
Small forward or shooting guard?
I definitely would go. I guess I would go. Jordan 1, Kobe 2.
Vince Carter was a beast.
Wade 3.
In his time.
Maybe you would put Miller in there.
Carter was a beast back in his time.
Because I really did like like I said, I liked his confidence. I liked his bravado. He even get in Jordan's face and talk smack if he had to. That's kind of a tough thought. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you, but I guess I would agree with you.
Crazy to think about. So like I said, the top three, it's a no-brainer for me. It's just Jordan, Kobe, and Dwayne, for sure. I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's other players that. I mean, like I said, I can totally throw out shooting guards that were great. Like I said,
I can't invest in her only because of the playoff.
These are guys that I enjoy. I loved watching Allen Houston. I'm not a huge Knicks fan, but I was a big Allen Houston fan. Steve Smith was another great one that you enjoyed watching play and things like that. So there's quite a bit. I know I threw out James Harden's another one that I threw out there, but I'm sorry, I'm wrong, Mike. I forgot. We forgot one, and I totally I'm kicking myself in the side. So if anybody caught this, please let us know. But Allen Iverson, it needs to be. It needs to be up here. Now, here's the thing, because I see a lot of people talk about these lists and things like that, Michael. Where would you put him? Because a lot of people consider Iverson whether he's to be a point guard too, but I don't consider him a point guard. I consider him a shooting guard. He wasn't really a point guard to me. I didn't really get the shooting, the point guard feel for Iverson. So Iverson is above Wade. So my top is got to be, because there's no. I'm sorry, but Iverson does not. He's not eclipsing Wade or Jordan. So it's Jordan, Kobe, Iverson, Wade, for me. And I don't care if you say it, because I know people will come at me and be like, "Well, aren't you?"
Yeah, that was it.
Aren't you all about titles and this like that? Wade got the titles. Iverson, you didn't watch Iverson play.
Really
you didn't see
team. He really did.
The team
by the time
he had to play with. That team he took to play against the Lakers in 2002 or whatever that was. It was just him and an aging McCullough.
He really was good.
Like Aaron McKee.
Yeah, I guess
who were these players that he had with him?
I guess you couldn't put him above.
You know what I mean? So,
I guess you couldn't put him above Wade.
And what he did was
Wade with
he changed. He was another guy that changed the game. Allen Iverson was.
Yeah, you would have to put Iverson in there. You really would.
So yes.
But you know what? He really did play a lot like a point guard.
AI, my bad. But
I mean, he really did.
Kind of forget you,
but by technical standpoint, he was labeled as a shooting guard. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I'm surprised we didn't think about him, or at least I didn't for sure. No, I have to agree with you, but I guess I would go Wade. I think I would put Miller in there, though. I think I would, but I think I might go Wade 3. I guess I'd put Iverson maybe 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And maybe Miller 5. Maybe. I liked Miller's, like I said, I loved his bravado, his confidence, and he could back up a lot of his stuff. I I might do that, maybe. Like I said, there's some good ball players out there. Steve Smith, I get it. Clay is out there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
you put Iverson ahead of Wade.
I probably have to.
That's what I was just
Probably
saying.
have to go like those four that I mentioned. Probably Jordan, Kobe, AI, Wade, and I probably have to put Hart. I have to put in my top five. Oh, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Mike, you're telling me if those two played one-on-one in their primes, that AI's not cooking D-Wade. I'm not hating on D-Wade. I love D-Wade. I'm a huge D-Wade fan. But let's face it, his first title is all him. And, him and Shaq, but that was his team. He did his thing. He doesn't get more without LeBron and Bosh coming over. I'm sorry, but he doesn't, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
D-Wade was tremendous. He's great. I'm not knocking him. They're all Hall of Famers. Don't get me wrong, but AI is different. AI was just different. If those two were in their prime and their teams were playing, AI is cooking D-Wade. He's cooking him, man. It's just not. It's not happening. It's not happening, guys. So in the end, so Mike, your starting lineup is Steph, Jordan, Bird, Duncan, and Nikola Jokic. Not bad.
I think
you have two players currently playing still right now in the league. Three players not. I have Magic, Jordan, LeBron, Duncan, and Kareem. One guy in the league still for me. These are tremendous, Mike.
I think either lineup that we put out there would be formidable and could easily reach the finals.
I like
at least reach the finals. I really do. Really do.
I love that you threw.
Good list, but I like it.
I didn't expect that from you. I didn't think that you would have Jokic in there yet, but I like it. I do. I like it for sure. But yeah. Yeah. For sure. Definitely. Well, guys, let's get into here. So we're going to kind of move on here now and talk about some football. I know we were going to kind of we kind of pushed this one a little bit further than we'd like to. So we're going to get into a few games here. Mike, let's start off here with the Packers and Bears game. Obviously, Caleb Williams is getting a lot of just a lot of players asking for him to not come back out.
He's struggling too.
And this is kind of strange because you don't hear this from players, right? This isn't something that gets leaked out. You don't hear a lot of this, that players are actually calling for a rookie quarterback to be out. And Caleb just has not looked great. The offensive line hasn't looked great. This team's on a ball where the Packers really need.
I think again we got that learning curve. I think again we always talk about this. Game film.
But Green Bay
and I think right now that neither you or I were not of the belief that Caleb should be the number one pick. We thought it was a little bit overhyped. A lot of the quarterbacks coming out of USC are always overhyped, and it doesn't usually pan out. But I do believe, as his career progresses, I think Caleb will be a serviceable quarterback. I don't think he's going to change the league. And he's not the next Mahomes. I'm sorry, I don't see this. I don't think it's kind of like what you say, but if you've invested this much in, and to your point, the Colts are going to put Richardson back out there. But now the damage is done, and you said, don't bench him. This is what you got him for. Let him learn. And the Colts went and screwed it up. So I think to your point, you've already had Caleb out there. Yeah.
But how is he supposed? Here's my other thing. How is he supposed to learn when his players are giving up on him? You watch DJ Moore walk off the field mid-play on him.
Yep.
So how is this kid supposed to learn anything that when you're giving up on him? Chicago went all in on this team. They went and got Keenan Allen. They went and got DJ Moore. They went and beefed up this defense for them. They got Swift. All for Caleb Williams. This is what it was meant for. Now you have no offensive coordinator. Your offensive line is awful. And your quarterback is about near done. All this when you had Justin Fields, who had Pittsburgh sitting in a great spot before Russ came in, right? And you threw everything away.
Yeah, some of it's coaching. And ironically,
you used picks last year to get your defense beefed up, right? That's why. So, what's going on here? There is something else wrong here, and I don't want to necessarily say that it's all Caleb because he has shown signs that he has played well. Okay, so. For me, there is something else wrong here with this team and I don't know what it is, but I don't know if maybe I don't know if DJ Moore was expecting Caleb to just come in and be this complete. Also, I don't know if maybe expecting to be the Stroud or what Jaden has done so far, but we'll get into Jaden because also him obviously.
And it is. It's a
here and what this means for him, but Caleb wasn't that guy. I said it from the beginning. Caleb right now is the fourth best rookie quarterback playing right now, behind Jaden, behind Drake May, and behind Bo Nix. He's the fourth. The fourth. Bo Nix is playing out of his mind. Jaden Daniels had a rough week.
Yeah, I can't give it to Bo. I still see some things I'd like to see him improve on. He's improved week to week.
Even better.
We neither one of us felt like he was
recently, even better than Caleb now. I think Bo Nix actually should possibly, if not jumped Jaden, for Rookie of the Year.
If you go off of what's there right now, you would probably lean towards Bo. We haven't seen enough of May to know what he can do yet because he just got put out there. So you can look at Bo.
But who has improved more throughout the season? Jaden, Caleb, or Bo?
Yeah, I still like what I see out of Jaden. I know he's had a couple of rough weeks. I wonder if game film is slowly becoming part of that. We'll see. I still think Jaden is going to do some great things. I really do. But to your point, you probably would have to lean towards Bo right now as far as progression goes. And what I'd still like to see Sean trust him a little bit more. And let's expand on his passing and see what he can do. Maybe we will. But with Caleb, the system failure. It's again, like you said, players losing confidence, which I don't understand that. I understand the kids struggling, but walking off the field and making comments and stuff like that. Ironically, I thought the coach of the Bears. I told when we started the season, I said he's my coach of the year, but I said that based on what the talent was, and that was going to benefit him. Kind of what we see with Quinn in Washington, but. It's a system failure from coach to upper management down on the playing field itself, and it's slowly beginning to implode. On the flip side with Green Bay, Love's having his problems. He's shown some inaccuracies. I don't know if he's fully healthy, so I don't know quite what's going on there. But with everything that's happened with Chicago, I really do like Green Bay to go in there and win the game. I'm kind of hesitant about the you said 5 or 5.5, bud. I'm kind of hesitant on the 5. Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to take the 5.5 because Chicago is just imploding, and yeah,
absolutely 5.5. Well, I'm taking Green Bay. And I'm taking them to cover this. There's just too much stuff going on here in Chicago. It's just the Green Bay needs this game. They need it bad. With Detroit coming on, great combined win Monday night against Houston, 8-1. Obviously, Minnesota. So they need this win.
Yeah, I don't know. It won't be a great game, but again, we both agree Green Bay to win and cover.
8-2 now in the NFC East. Jaden and then Washington still 7-4, but like they need these wins. It is a tough road for the NFC right now. They can't afford to lose this game. They need to go in there. I got them covering. I got them winning this game for sure. All right, this week, huge game. 7-3 Ravens coming in to Pittsburgh. 7-2. Russ, Lamar.
Oh wow! I'll tell you what, that's almost like that's kind of tough.
Tomlin just has.
I'll tell you
those
what.
numbers for whatever reason. Baltimore
Ironically, I think I think Baltimore needs it more. I think they brought in Henry. That was kind of like the answer to what the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak. And we're seeing some games here where Baltimore is struggling. But when they're on, they're on. But when they're off, they're off. And I don't know if you're quite sure which one's going to show up week to week. They seem to play down to the level of their competition. I tell you what, though, rivalry games are tough. I love the Steelers defense. I love Tomlin. As a matter of fact, right now, Tomlin he's my pick for Coach of the Year right now. I like what he's done in Pittsburgh. He's navigated the QB situation. He's getting pretty much, I think, the most you can get out of Russ at this stage of his career. We saw what he did with Justin. And the defense, like I said, is lights out. I do think, however, we're going to see the best version of Baltimore tomorrow. And I think that's going to be enough to carry the Ravens to a win. I'm going to say they win by 4 and just cover on the spread. I think this is a game but I do believe Baltimore really needs this game. Nothing was expected of Pittsburgh with the crazy QB situation. So what they're doing right now is sort of like, you're holding all the cards and you're just running with it. So I think the pressure's on Baltimore. If they lose this game, obviously they're potentially looking at losing the division. That's a big game. So I think it's pressure on Baltimore.
Yeah. So I totally agree. I believe it is a must-win for Baltimore, and here's the other reason why. I feel like all of a sudden, whatever. I don't know how they are. I don't know how Cincinnati's playing in there. I don't know how they keep doing this. I don't know how Burrow keeps fighting. The one thing you don't want to do is start losing these games. You already have 2 terrible losses right now that you shouldn't have had, right? You shouldn't have lost to the Raiders, and you shouldn't have lost to the Browns, right? So you should only have 1 loss, and now you have 3. 3 losses, 1 loss being to Kansas City, which is fine, but still, you should probably be 9-1 right now. Basically, is what you should be, but you're not. So you lose this, you drop to 7-4. Yeah. Cincinnati goes right, finds a way to. We will get into this game, win, goes up to 5-6. You're now going to drop to 7-4, and the Steelers will now go up to 8-2. They're definitely they now have the tiebreaker on you for beating you already now. It's huge right now. And Baltimore needs this, right? But at the same time, the Steelers have their number, Mike. And there is something clicking in Pittsburgh right now. Everything is on pace right where they want it to be. And it's worked out from the beginning of the season. From them getting Justin Fields, from them getting Russell Wilson, there has been a plan.
That's a good
Tomlin has stuck to it. And by golly, has Tomlin done a tremendous job with this team this year. Tremendous job with this team this year. And I like what they're doing. I am taking the Steelers to win this game. I think it's going to keep going. I go with coaching. I go with the better defense. The Ravens' defense is terrible right now. It is terrible. And it makes no sense how they are so bad when they have all of their returning defensive backs are back from last year when they were ranked number one in the pass defense, and now they are ranked 4th. They are getting worse and worse and worse. How? When you have the same guys coming back. This is terrible. Russ is locked in. He's throwing the ball. He's connecting well. The chemistry with Pickens is great. I think.
I think real quick. I think talked about last year when they finished 8 and what was it? They finished 9-8 or 8-9. They had to finish. He's never had one.
Is another guy that they're going to have to keep an eye on.
And I thought, if I'm not mistaken, but I thought last year was Tomlin's best coaching job, and it may have been. But now this year, what I see, I think this is his best coaching job. Yeah.
Got to be at 9-8 because Tomlin hasn't been below 500. Oh, it's crazy what he's done with this. Well, yeah, because you have to think, I mean, he had Kenny Pickett that he did that with last year, right? So you finally gave him a quarterback, 2 quarterbacks that can do what he did. And like I said, and what I mean by from start to finish is he had to start with Fields. He had to tell Fields, okay, it's time to step back. Russ is ready, and put Russ. That couldn't have been easy, right? I don't think it was so flip-flopping as to what you were going to do with this, how you were waiting for Russ. Is he not ready? But there was a reason why they waited for him. There was a reason why they did all these steps, because Russ wasn't 100%, but Fields was giving him a chance to get to 100%. Now that he is, boom, they're on mark with this. This is a really good Steelers team. And like I said, I plan this. I mean, this is
no, because I mean, like you and I've talked about, we talked about on the podcast that this is a team that's, I mean, they're winning, but they're not winning very pretty. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win pretty or if you win ugly. You got the win, so who cares? That's the bottom line. But Kansas City is not the Kansas City we're used to. And yeah, they've had injuries. Pacheco's back. Probably not going to play very much tomorrow if he plays at all. Yeah, but they're starting to get a couple players back here over the next few weeks, so that'll start to show itself. But in the regular season, Josh in Buffalo have had Kansas City's number. So this is going to be interesting. I like what I say. We talked about this with Josh in Buffalo.
He's not going to play at all.
Now he doesn't have that pressure, on the offensive side from guys having to get the ball. I'm not going to throw names out there. We know who we're talking about, but guys saying, "Hey, you got to give me the ball if you want to win." Now Josh can freelance a little bit. He doesn't have that underlying pressure of, okay, he's gonna bellyache if I don't throw him the ball. So it's just it's better distribution. Josh is Josh. He's almost annually he's an MVP candidate. This year he is a hardcore, serious MVP candidate. He's playing like it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Kansas City is not going undefeated. You're not going to go undefeated. And I do believe that I've said before, it's hard for me to pick against Kansas City if Patrick's playing, because to beat a team, you got to beat the team, and you can't seem to do it. But I do believe that tomorrow Buffalo is going to make a statement, and they're going to beat Kansas City, and I think they will cover. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the Bills have their numbers obviously in the regular season, right? 3-1 since Allen has been here, I believe.
It's over.
Regular season,
it's over.
Can't beat
home field advantage. So, it's over.
I'm with you. I think the Bills win this game. I have the Bills pick to win also. I don't see the Chiefs going undefeated. But my thing is if they beat the Bills,
yeah,
man, 17-0 is. Well, but I'm not. But not home field. I'm just saying. I think 17-0 is now we're starting. I think we start to look at it that it's now a possibility, because not only have you beat Baltimore, now you have beaten Buffalo. 2 on top of that. So, but I mean, I don't see it either. From what I watched in that Denver game, I mean, they were that close to coming in this game 9-1, right? 8-1. I mean, it could be 8-1 against 8-2. It was that close. I mean, they got the block on Denver, which was strange enough. I mean, everybody. I'm pretty sure everybody thought the game was over. I mean, it was just crazy. And that's another reason why I think Bo Nix gets a little bit of a knock in that rookie status, because, man, to go into a place like Arrowhead and do what he did, get them to drive down there the way he did at the end of the game, to set them up for a field goal to win the game. You can't ask for more from a rookie quarterback like that, to go against the defending champ 2 times, Super Bowl champs, Patrick Mahomes on the other end, in Arrowhead, and almost pull that game off your rookie year. That says a lot. So I see a lot of decrease, but somehow, even though they're decreasing, they keep winning still. So it's hard to say, but I think the bus stops here. I think Buffalo does find a way.
Don't you think, though? Again, going back to who the pressure's on, it's on Buffalo here, because if Buffalo loses this game, but
But
wouldn't you think, as a Buffalo Bill player,
it's better to lose throughout the season, I should say,
that now in the back of your mind,
rather than just going to the playoffs undefeated?
You have to start thinking to yourself, what do we do? We can't beat them in Kansas City. We couldn't beat them in Buffalo. I mean, what are we supposed to do? So what, are we supposed to go into Kansas City now in January and we're going to win the playoff? The AFC team's going to. Mahomes never loses. He's never lost an AFC. Well, to Brady, yes, but other than that, he's not lost an AFC championship game. It's tough. Buffalo, they know they got to win this game. I mean, it's going to be tough, but yeah, but I think we both agree. I think at least for the moment, Buffalo will have the ability to beat Kansas City. Still don't know if it'll give them the home field advantage down the line, but they definitely need this game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, then the Sunday night game, Mike. Last game we're going to talk about here, Bengals, Chargers. Two big games for both of these. Like I said, I brought up the Bengals. The Bengals need to keep winning, right? They need to stay in that hunt. Chargers are 6-3. They are in the playoffs right now. I think they believe be the 6th seed right now, being in.
Denver has
that last seed right now, but Chargers are actually setting themselves up. If they win this, to go 7-3, look real good for the playoffs, right? But for whatever reason, like I said, Burrow and the Bengals they just keep hanging in there. They keep doing well. Burrow is on fire right now. Throwing the ball, I mean, he can't be stopped.
I really think it is just because
he's like a video game right now, right?
They've had so many setbacks. If it's not injuries, it's just tough losses. Regular season playoffs. It's just been brutal.
Going on in this game?
Chargers, new coach. I mean, you got rid of some players and lost some players, so there were no expectations. Maybe you just improve on the number of wins you had last year, and Harbaugh just continues to build on it next year, and you just go from there. But they're obviously succeeding. I keep saying week in and week out, at some point, you can't just continue. And granted, Herbert's he's playing pretty well now, but they still rely heavily on the running game. And I keep saying that at some point, this formula just won't play itself out. You're going to have to. It's really going to have to be a little bit more than just this. And again, Herbert's playing better, but they keep winning. They just keep winning, and something tells me that the Chargers are going to find a way to win this game. It just feels almost like Cincinnati just got this cloud of something just keeps you from winning when you need it. And I think Joe can go out there tomorrow and he'll probably have a great game, but I think somehow, some way, Chargers are going to sneak this out in a low-scoring game. And obviously, you said they were favored by how much, bud? Yeah. Tough not to cover on that, but I got the Chargers winning and covering. Some just tell me it's just going to fall short.
One and a half is what it's at right now. Yeah, I have the Bengals. I think the Bengals are on a run. I like what Burrow's doing.
Yeah, I think they're finding a good balance.
I normally say I don't like what they were doing with the running game. I know the Chargers have been actually throwing the ball a lot lately. Herbert's really been letting it fly. That's not what Harbaugh's used to, but I think Harbaugh's kind of understanding now to this league now you have to start throwing the ball a little more. You can't just keep running. I mean, they have a great running game. Don't get me wrong. What he's done with the Chargers and their run game has been great.
Yeah, like you said, bud, more pressure on Cincinnati. Chargers, they lose. They're still in decent position. Cincinnati loses, it's over.
Excellent, but there's just
they're not going to recover from that. And the last thing I want to say on a side note is, and you mentioned this earlier with popularity, when we're talking about basketball, when we touched on football briefly, it's unfortunate that the media takes it to this extreme, because here's Patrick having this very subpar season. Very underwhelming season to his standards. but just from a quarterback position, period, that he's still the front runner for the MVP. And a guy like Jared Goff is out here, and yeah, I know he threw the 5 picks. I guarantee you, folks, that won't happen again, not this season. Here's a guy who's out there prior to the 5 picks was having numbers that people hadn't seen. They couldn't even recall numbers like this from a quarterback going out completion wise and things like that. Just lighting it up and playing top notch football and getting no press, no publicity, nothing about even being considered remotely for an MVP. And it's unfortunate because, Josh Allen and Jared Goff, guys that should be at the top of that list for MVP, being pushed down below because, and I love Patrick, but the numbers aren't there this year. He really shouldn't be at the top of any MVP list. I hope they look at that in the future and reassess how that needs to be looked at. Oh man, I'll tell you what, bud.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mike, for sure. And then obviously, I wanted to kind of transfer into this game real quick before we head out of here about the Eagles and Commanders that was played Thursday, because I believe
Great point.
there's a guy that was on this field Thursday night that should be possibly in the talks of this MVP, and that I think Saquon Barkley
It was
should be
over.
in talks of the MVP. Because here's the thing, Saquon Barkley has changed, and I don't care what anybody says, he has changed this Eagles team. He is the reason that this team has made the switch, okay, as to being as good as they are. I love Saquon Barkley. Obviously, Eagles won the game 26-18. Eagles kind of were more in charge, kind of were ahead a little bit more. It wasn't as close as it was. Now, Washington took the lead in this game for a little bit. They were down 12-10. There was a 4th and 2 late in the fourth that Dan Quinn decided to go for it, which I did not understand. They were in field goal range. They could have kicked it. They could have went up 13-12. They're on the road. I think you've got to take that, Mike. But back and getting into this, we were talking about the MVP. I'm talking about Saquon. Saquon had 146 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. He could have way more touchdowns than he has, Mike. This whole tush-push thing for the Eagles is the reason why Saquon doesn't have more. But Saquon doesn't care. He's that type where he let New York just run over and run over and run over. He watched Daniel Jones get paid before he got paid, right? That's why he's in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts keeps getting touchdowns at the 1-yard line if Barkley doesn't score because of the tush-push thing. Barkley could probably have like 20 touchdowns by now if they just gave him the ball at the yard line for him to get in. But he doesn't care about that. But he is the main catalyst of this team, especially on the offensive side. Saquon Barkley has changed his team. He has made the Eagles a better team. He has made everybody on this team better. So I think Saquon needs to get pushed in there to that. I think Mahomes now, granted, maybe Mahomes has a great game. If he comes out, he does Mahomes things, wins the game against Buffalo, does what he needs to do, okay, fine, keep him in there. If he still is doing what he's doing, we need to get his name out of there, and we need to bump somebody in like Saquon, because this guy is doing things for his team. He is making them better. Philadelphia was not this team that we thought before Saquon was there. Not a lot of people right now would have thought the Eagles would be 8-2 right now. Now, on the other hand, Jaden was maybe in that talks of MVP. He had a little bit of a rough stance, right? He was 22 of 32, 191 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He just didn't look like he was comfortable, right? There just wasn't a whole lot. McLaurin only had a couple of targets, no catches at all. The offense just did not seem to get going at all, Mike. But it just seemed like they just wanted to keep running the ball and running the ball. I felt like Washington played just a little bit too conservative against the Eagles, which I don't like. This is a division opponent. You have a chance to take a lead in the division, make some headroom for you guys in there, and you just didn't pull it out. And like I said, and then
You and I talked about this, and you know how I feel about Quinn. He's a great person. I think he's a mediocre head coach. He came into the Washington situation. Nobody knew Jaden was going to be this good.
Did he just
And he's going through a little bit of a rough stretch right now. I think we'll see what happens as a game film. I believe it probably is. But he's committed to improving. I like everything I see and hear from this kid. So I think that'll work itself out. Quinn showed me his deficiencies when he was a head coach at Atlanta. He's a great defensive coordinator. And I really think ultimately that's where he needs to be. but we'll see how it plays out. But to your point, but that's a situation where you've been around long enough. You need to take the two. You need to take the 3 points. You can't do that on the road. You can't play into the hands of the situation like that. And he did, and that's just not having confidence in yourself. So
I agree. I'm with you, Mike. I agree. Now, now here's the other big question though too, Mike. Are you worried about Jaden Daniels now? Does this game worry
I
you,
thought
or
that
do you
was
think he's
some
fine? He bounces back next week. Is it
Monday.
just a Thursday night thing? This is his first.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
short week. It's obviously his
this is his
Thursday
first
night
Thursday
short
night game.
week.
No, because
But
did he
I tell you
play? Was
what,
it Thursday night when they played
I'm
when
not
they
worried
played
about.
the Bengals earlier in the season?
Well, here's the
Or
thing.
was that his Monday night? That was a Monday night game. So this was their first Thursday night game,
But
right?
we
So
don't know.
it's a short week. Maybe they just weren't fully prepared for this. But I'm not worried. I think he bounces back fine. It's a rookie.
But we
What do
also
you
don't
expect?
know what the
They're
ribs are
expected to
still
have game.
doing.
You don't
We
expect
don't know if he's
Jaden to
still.
play the way he's been up until now
So that's what I'm saying.
as a
So
rookie. You expect
and
hiccups.
he had some
You
struggles against
expect games
Pittsburgh.
like this.
These
So
are
this
these
is
are
why I'm
games
not
after
too
the
worried about
injury.
it
The
because
rib injury.
you
So
expect a game
I
like this
wonder if
every
that's
once in a
part of the
while from a
problem.
rookie.
It could be just part of that. Again, game film is a big part of it too. Caleb may be
He don't look
experiencing
the
some of
same, Mike.
this
He don't look like
as
he's running as
well.
hard as he
But
is.
I
He doesn't
think with
look like he's
Jaden,
moving
I
as
feel
much.
better
He
about
feels.
Jaden than I do about Caleb. I'll tell you that much. And I'm not beating up on Caleb, folks, but yeah.
So if he's hurt though, Mike, do you keep risking this? You still let him play, or is this something that you have to monitor and you have to figure out if it's really worth
Yeah,
your
and we
franchise,
talked about
knowing
that
how
too,
good
bud.
he
And you
is,
know me,
knowing
I'm
what kind of
about,
player he is?
looking
If he is
long
hurting, if he's
term.
not playing at
You have to
100%,
have full disclosure
is
from
this
all
something you
parties. I
need to
mean, Jaden's got
take a
to
step
he's
back and
got to
say,
own up
okay,
to
we need to look
where
at the
he's at,
future more or less than
honestly.
just one
And the
season?
doctors and everybody have to do that too. So if everybody's on the up and up and he's literally feels like he's okay, even though he doesn't look like it, but if there's any doubt, you might have, and I know you got the pressure of trying to get to the playoffs when you haven't been in a long time in the back of everybody's mind. But like you said, if you want to look long term, and this is your guy,
Yeah.
if he continues to take some shots, and you're risking severe injury, and then you may not have the guy. So there's a lot to think about there. I'm going to say I feel like he's good enough to play, but I do wonder if the ribs are hampering or hampering, what he could be doing. We'll see. But I'm not worried about Jade. I think he's going to be
Yeah.
fine. I think he's going to bounce back, and we'll continue to see some progression from him. I still think he's going to be great. But again, Caleb, that's a whole nother just problem going on there. But we'll see what happens.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. We got a lot of good games up this week, folks. Appreciate you guys tuning in this week. We had a lot of fun with this. It was nice getting into some old basketball talk again, and we don't get a lot of that in. It's nice to have some of those old talks, bring up some of those old players that we hadn't talked about in a while, things like that too. But let us know what you guys think about our top
That'd be
five.
pretty cool.
Please let us know if you guys have any other top five that you guys want to talk about. Give us your list, things like that too. I don't know, maybe somehow, some way, Mike and I can get our teams to somehow play maybe on a video game or something like that and see which team's actually better. And then put them on the blacktop or something like that. But it'd be actually kind of fun for sure. But no, for sure, guys, this was fun. Excited. Got some great games coming up. There's still a lot of talk coming up.
Yeah.
College football, guys. We're gonna start getting a lot more other things. We can talk about the playoffs now. We got the new format coming out there, Mike. That they've kind of already set up and kind of predictions going on. But I wanted to kind of wait till we get a little bit deeper in the season. We got a few big games coming up. CU, another big win. They got a big chance to run in the Big 12, a new team, 7 up. Dion's really got that team going. The SEC just seems wide open. I know Tennessee and Georgia had their game going on today. I don't know how that has turned out. I don't know if the game's on now or what, but a lot of huge games going on. So we're going to get into some college hoops too. We'll get into some more basketball, things like that. Obviously, stick with our football as we've been. But once again, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, let us know.
Yeah, just like Bud said, it's a good time of the year, folks. As basketball's now going on, pro, college, college football is getting ready for the playoffs. Obviously, if you're a hockey fan, that's out there too. So, like Anthony mentioned, we're going to be talking about some different things. A lot of whispers out there that, and Anthony and I have talked about talking about this at some point, maybe next week. Is Dion going to coach Dallas? Is Dion going to coach the Giants? There's some very interesting possibilities there. So we're looking at those kind of things. But obviously, if there's things out there that you want us to talk about, let us know, and we'll certainly look into that. And we're always happy to listen and take your suggestions.
Not as long
but
as
I always do,
I'd
be remiss if I didn't look to the gentleman next to me, and thank him, because what you see, what you hear, everything is not done. It's not possible without this gentleman right here and his brilliance behind the scenes, because he makes this happen each and every week. So, as always, my great appreciation to Mr. Anthony Alvarez and everything that he does with this program.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Another great week, Mike. Folks, like I said, have a great rest of the weekend. Have a great week. Enjoy some football. Enjoy college basketball back.
Good night,
Both women's
folks.
and